Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky.
A person who does what I do adds value by helping you to set the course that you need and maintaining that course, because it's not about today or tomorrow, it's about whatever the end game is.
Today we have Jeff Schankerman, who's here to talk about financial planning, living in Skevanston, moving here from out of state, and giving us a good direction on what we should do with how to plan for our lives. So I want to thank Jeff. Thanks so much for coming here today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, Jeff, it's great to have you. Tell us, why do you do this?
It's a great question. Everything I've ever done has revolved around the puzzle, whatever the puzzle is. My professional life has always been around business and finance, and it's veered in areas of money management and the markets, and also in areas of marketing and sales and those types of things that are the necessary parts of those businesses. And it's always been about taking a situation and pulling it apart, looking at each component piece from every angle, and then finding a different, better way to put it back together, something that makes more sense, or adding pieces that are missing. And I can't think of an area that's better for that than financial planning. It's got so many different facets, and they are so misunderstood.
So how did you get into this business in the first place? Because you've done a few different things, but you've been in this for a while now, right?
Well, yeah, I started my professional life in recruitment and marketing way back when, and this was when I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I met a group of people who were putting together a stock trading firm, and this was in 1994, before the whole stock trading boom, and before the internet, by the way, and they brought me in as a recruitment and marketing guy. I fell in love with the business, long story short, I ended up buying the other guys out, selling the firm, and running it after I sold it. Absolutely loved that business. It was fascinating and exciting. And as an entree to following the markets, I would say that any month in that business is worth 2 years following the market anywhere else. And I was in it for 6 years.
And you were in Cincinnati then, and then you came to Skevanston after that, right?
That's a correct statement.
Okay. What brought you here?
Well, after I sold the firm, my wife is from here. So I refer to it as being part of the spousal relocation program. So we wanted to be near her family. So we moved back up here. I moved up here in advance of my wife and kids who were finishing up school. I was actually living with my in-laws, which was a motivator to find a house.
Oh, God.
And every Sunday, I would look at what was being listed. I would drive through the neighborhoods. We knew we wanted to be in Skevanston. And then I would go downtown, work for a few hours, and then come back up and go through the various open houses. And we found a great house.
Yeah. And so how does that compare to Cincinnati? And you're not actually originally from Cincinnati, though, are you?
No, I'm from Indianapolis, which those who know me realize that's why I'm so cosmopolitan. But we were living here. We decided that we wanted to try life as newlyweds in a smaller city, and Cincinnati offered what we needed professionally. So we lived there for 12 years. It was a good deal.
Yeah. Do you like it better being out here?
Oh, there are pluses and minuses. It's so easy living I'm from Indianapolis. It's so easy living there, and it's so easy living in Cincinnati. From the standpoint of you can just drop everything and decide that you want to. Well, when we first moved to Cincinnati from Chicago, somebody had theater tickets. It was a dance theater performance. It was in downtown Cincinnati. We lived like 8 miles north of the downtown, and we were from Chicago. We lived in Chicago, so we figured, okay, the performance starts in about half an hour. We'll miss the first half, but it's dance, so we'll see. Okay. So we quickly dressed, hopped in the car, drove to the theater where the music hall where this thing was taking place, found a street spot right in front of music hall, walked into the theater 5 minutes before the performance began, and that was with 30 minutes, 30 minutes lead time. In Chicago, we would have just been making it to the Edens after 30 minutes, and we would have missed half of the show. I don't even think we would have attempted it. That's what I mean. It's easier from that standpoint, but I think that there are more people with big ideas, more of a concentration of people with big ideas here, especially Skevanston. I'm part of a group out of Indianapolis that is, most of us are related. It's a family-based group, and we all treat it that way. And there's nobody else we know of, certainly nobody that we work alongside any of our competitors in Indiana who do it the same way.
What's the name of that company?
It's One-to-One Financial Advisors, which is the group that I have here. It's based in Indianapolis, and it's my brother, his brother-in-law. Almost everybody in the office is related. It's kind of funny because, you would think people who listen to that think, oh my God, that must be a train wreck or a nightmare. It's actually really nice. We all get along, and there's a shorthand that allows us to start abusing each other that much more quickly and get down to doing business.
I mean, are you able to come to, I was talking to Jacob Shapiro, and he has a partner in his business. Mm-hmm. And, I asked him, is that a benefit? And do you guys ever argue? And he said, yeah, we argue all the time, but it leads us to a better decision. Do you find that because you're all family, it's just a little bit easier to talk about different issues and where you can get to the better answer?
I think it is, because I think that it enables you to listen to somebody and really just say to them, I really don't agree with what you're saying, much more readily than you would in some other structure where, you're talking to the owner of a company that you don't own or have a familial relationship with. So I think that shorthand that I talked about before stretches to those areas as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked for my brother for several years too at First Class Moving and Storage, and yeah, we had a ton of fun, and we were able to discuss different things and how things, my opinion on things with the business, and I think that did lead to better answers and ways of going about things. My
brother and I are very different in the way we do things. He is. We did one of those personality inventories, and we came up on opposite sides. He's an accountant by education, and my education started in psychology and business. So it's a very different route to the same type of a business. So he looks at something. He doesn't even try to do a lot of this stuff. Nor, I'll use him as a resource for some of the things that I think he would be better at. But there's not a challenge there. It really is a situation where we look at the group. Well, first of all, we're stuck together because we're family. So whether we're there or not, right. Nobody is trying to gain access to knowledge so that they can leave the rest of the family in the dust and do something on their own.
That does happen.
I know it does. We have had in our group, we had a cousin who actually did that, and it wasn't honorable the way he exited, and that had more repercussions within the group than it would have if we'd just been a group working together, and the guy comes in and says, "I'm leaving and I'm taking my clients with me." Well, that's not the expectation when you work with family. If you want to leave, then the expectation is you sit down. You figure out how you're going to exit, and, you act like a mensch.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not easy to do.
No. No. Well, I don't think he was a mensch to begin with. I think it's hard to learn. I think it's easy to be a mensch if you start out that way.
Right. You got to go to kindergarten.
That's exactly right.
That's the key thing to this conversation.
Correct.
You mentioned before that when you're talking to your clients, that sometimes you have to walk them off a ledge.
Yep.
Why are they on that ledge in the first place? What is going through their minds that you're helping them with?
We have access to information, unfettered access to information, like never before. And most of the time, it's a good thing. But you have to remember that if you have a long-term perspective, and I hate this part of things because understand that in my industry, you call your guy and you say, I'm concerned about the market, and their answer is, we're long-term investors, don't worry about it. What they're saying is, don't call me again. They're training you not to call. There is a difference between that and explaining to the person why leaving an investment now would be counterproductive. It has to do with, how long you have to retirement, if an investment is down, and on a particular day, especially after the market takes a drubbing, I get calls from people who are extremely concerned because they are looking at it, or they have somebody who has said to them, this is the beginning of the end.
Right.
And the things, and so it's my job not to talk them off the ledge if I look at it and I say, you know what, maybe we should change things up. I'm not afraid to do that, but most of the time, they are reacting to a really bad day in the market.
Right. And is your answer sometimes different for somebody who's 35 versus 65?
Always. And hopefully I have taken into consideration the fact that the person who's 65 is much closer to retirement, and we've kind of risked off. We've taken some of the risk away from the portfolio. But even the person who's 35, if I look at the portfolio and I say, this could be somewhere better, this particular investment could be somewhere better because, maybe this particular type of an investment is going to take too long to come back, or there's a better place for the money to be, then we might change things around.
Yeah, I think that's important. And, and you don't get that if you're just going on your own trading stocks.
No. And also, it's in my best interest to say, don't worry about it, because then I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is make you feel better, send you on your way, whether it's the right thing to do or not, and I can go out and golf and sell things and do what I have to do to run my business.
Are you able to kind of look at also investments and kind of see if, where you can help your client avoid the next Madoff?
That was an interesting. The Madoff thing was fascinating. I've actually worked with some of the people who lost a ton of money, and it's a great example because these people who I work with, there are two different sets of people. Both refer to him as Uncle Bernie because that was the allure. He had a fund that should have only been accepting accredited investors, meaning that you had to have a certain level of sophistication and you had to have a certain level of income and savings in order to take advantage of it. But because it's Uncle Bernie, he would let you in with whatever you have in your life savings, and now they don't have much, if anything, left. It's hard to avoid something like that because the fact that he was established. After the fact, everybody, of course, knew that it was no good after the fact.
Right.
But the main thing is, I tell my clients that even if they're uncomfortable with the process of listening to the answer, asking why a lot of times will separate. You want somebody who, when they're recommending something to you, you want it to be their idea because they've thought it through, they understand, and they have a reason why they're recommending it. And you, as the consumer, if you just ask, why are we doing this? Not in an aggressive way. Explain it to me, why we're making this move or not making this move. And you don't need to memorize the answer. You just need to listen and determine whether some internal detector is going off and whether this person does not know what they're talking about or is not acting in your best interest. Beyond that, it's very a well-constructed Ponzi scheme is very difficult to, you won't know until you're in it. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're very rare, though.
But, what's a good way for somebody to look up somebody who does what you do to make sure that they haven't had violations?
Oh, that's a great question. By law, every broker website has to have a link on the front page the name of the site is FINRA, FINRA, Broker Check. And it'll either say FINRA Broker Check as a link, or it'll say look up information on your financial advisor or planner or whatever. And FINRA is the organization that oversees securities registrations. Then that site will tell you it's specifically created for consumers, so it's not something that you can't possibly understand what you're reading. It'll tell you how long they've been in the industry, how many firms they've been with, whether the firm's had any issues, whether the individual has had any issues, either debt issues like bankruptcies or legal issues or complaints that were cogent, that were real complaints. It'll tell you all of those things, and then you can make a good decision based on the expertise that the person brings to bear. And we all look alike. We're all nice and personable, and we shake hands, and you leave the meeting feeling as though you've made a good decision. And a lot of times that's the case, but sometimes the person who you're talking to, even though they look and act like everybody else in the industry, is very limited based on the numbers of registrations they have and their background and things.
Yeah, that's key. And I don't think most people know that. And another question, people always ask me as a real estate broker, well, how do you get paid? And, I think people understand it on a listing side because, you charge a commission, but as a buyer's agent, people don't understand how that works. And, the way that it almost always works is that you get paid at a closing by the listing brokerage. It's part of the total commission. But something like what you do, how does that work? How do you make a living on this?
Whatever program we're going to use, whether it's a brokerage program or a particular type of annuity or insurance policy or what have you, even a 529 college savings program, they all have compensation for the representative built in. Sometimes that compensation is variable, and that's where you need to be kind of a watchdog and make sure that you're getting good value. But the two main ways that people who do what I do are paid are by commission, which means that, life insurance is a great example. Life insurance, typically you do a life insurance policy and the representative who's writing that policy receives a check for closing the business and then a smaller check for annual renewals, and that's a commission. But a fee-based account is usually it's an asset-based fee. So you have a brokerage account where you are charged based on how much is in that account on an annual basis. We're at a point in our society where people think that everything should be free, and they object to paying fees for things. The person who does what I do adds value by helping you to set the course that you need and maintaining that course, because it's not about today or tomorrow. It's about whatever the end game is, whether it's when your kid is in college, when your spouse dies, or when you retire, or when you have a special event that you have been saving money for. Those are the times that you're focused on. The fees that we pay are for shepherding and minding and making sure that there's somebody who is looking over this, who is doing what's in your best interest the entire time.
Right, and sometimes when there's no fee or a very highly discounted fee, there's less incentive for that person to pay that close attention.
Right, in your own world, you know that a realtor is not a realtor is not a realtor. You're going to get a varying level of, you can go to one of these sites where you can get on in what is it called, the MLS or whatever it is, and people think that's the end all and the be all, but it's not. You need that expertise to be able to spin that situation and make sure that in your case that the person you're working with is getting every advantage they possibly can out of that deal, whether they're buying or selling.
Right. Well, one of the things that I always talk about with people when they first start working with them is what's called dual agency, where by law in Illinois, a realtor can represent both sides of a transaction, listing and buyers, if both sides agree to it. But you're barred from negotiating on behalf of either party. So you're acting basically as a communications conduit. And the benefit to a realtor is that you get paid the entire commission. The downside can be to the clients who don't get the full use of your services. So I always explain that and try actually to dissuade people from letting me do that, because it's not providing the full service to people. And I think that's a key thing that some people don't understand. I think it's good for people to understand how the meat is made, I guess.
Yes, the sausage.
How the
sausage is made.
Thank
exactly.
you very much.
No, it's my pleasure. And the vast majority of people have no desire to know how it's made. They just want that sausage. And
exactly.
but for people like you and I who are in service businesses, we have a choice. We can focus on, I want to get paid a lot now, and I really don't care what happens next, and I will always be able to find a new person to work with me. So if I can just wring as much money out of each of these new people, then I'll be successful. Versus I'm going to do what's right, and then I will build my business by having people refer to me because they know that I'm doing what's right by them, and that's my choice. And mind you, in my industry, people who do it that way don't make as much money as the other people.
Really?
Oh, yes. It's very easy for somebody. Let's take, for example, you've got an inheritance, or you've got a big rollover that you've worked for a company for 25, 30 years, and you've got a $750,000 in a 401k that you want to do something with. Okay. I'm not going to take a $750,000 401k and put it into one investment. It's just not going to happen. We're going to look at how to split that money up so that various parts of that money can do various things over different time frames. That's the planning process. But if I were to tie it up in a bundle and just put it into one program that, mind you, it's not me. If all I have to do is find the program that pays me the most, as long as it's technically suitable, and stick the money in there, what do I care? There are programs. I've got one guy in Northwest Indiana who I know exactly what's going to happen when people sit down with him. He will sell them on one particular program. It will tie their money up with no access to the money for 18 years. None.
How old is the guy? About?
Oh, the guy is probably, I'd say he's 50, 52.
So he might need that money.
Well, you mean the client?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And under no circumstance. And that guy, the insurance guy who does these things, he will make more on that payday than I will in a given month. And I'm not bemoaning it. I wouldn't trade places with him. I could be him. I know how to do that. I have access to that product. It's just not right. And I believe that, I believe that, it sounds too Pollyanna. I kind of believe that we need to leave this place better than we found it. And I do that through my interactions with people. People are very important to me. And I work with a lot of teachers. I work with a lot of helping professionals in Northwest Indiana. And there aren't two groups who know less about this stuff and are more uncomfortable than teachers, nurses, and doctors who are helping professionals. Yeah, I mean, they'll do, ultimately, if I package it or if I present it in a certain way, the vast majority of them would do whatever I want them to, whatever I suggest. And that's a lot of power. Right. That's it. Enough about that.
Is that what motivates you in this business, that your drive to help people, or is there more to that?
Well, I mean, I've found something that allows me to help people and make a decent living doing it. And I like that. And I like being able to wake up in the morning. When I was a recruiter, I enjoyed doing that early in my career. But then it dawned on me, I didn't have kids at the time. And it dawned on me that really, when I have kids and it's time for me to go in for career day, do I want my daughter to say, yes, my daddy steals sales reps from one medical company and puts them in another company that's 5 miles closer to home? It's not. And by the way, there are a lot of recruiters who do a lot of really good stuff. I was in sales recruitment, and that's basically what I was doing. So this enables me to take that same puzzle of what are we going to do with somebody's finance and disassemble it and reassemble it in a way that makes sense for them. I love that, and I'm happy to make money from it. It's just I don't want to be the guy. I don't want that money to be at the expense of that person's lifestyle, which this other guy I'm describing, that's exactly what happens, but they won't know it for years.
God, it's so horrible.
I know.
And that's the real key thing. It's like you could put your money away for 50 years, and then at the end, if you were screwed, if you're not with that honest person.
Yeah.
I mean, trouble.
Yeah, hopefully you've talked to the person within the 50 years.
Hopefully. Sounds like you've got just a really well-meaning, good business, and you probably have just a real good full life. I mean, what's some of the things that you like to do just to enjoy around here, like in the area, besides work? So
I listened to one of your other podcasts, and you asked that question. So I'm prepared here. There are two things about living in our area that when you tell people about them, you get the following response. Wait, what? And the first one is the bookmobile. The Skokie Library bookmobile is just an amazing, awesome thing. The fact that it exists at all, the fact that you can reserve stuff and have it delivered on the bookmobile, so you don't even have to drive all the way over to the Skokie Library. You can just drive down your street. And you tell people that, yeah, there's a bookmobile. It comes at 4:30. It sits at the end of the street for an hour. Like, wait, what?
Right.
Because it's just not, it's counterintuitive. I love that. The whole Skokie Library system is just amazing. The Evanston Library system is phenomenal as well. The other one is Mount Trashmore.
Yes.
That is so yeah, we're going sledding. Now, I've always said that the state motto of Illinois is, hey, I can see my house from here. Not a lot of hills around here. So, you take them where you can get them, but you tell somebody, yes, I'm taking my kid over to the landfill to go sledding. Wait, what? So it's one of those things. Those are the types of things. I like the people. I like I like the produce markets. I like the services around here. I'm a Midwestern person.
Yeah, you get to see people wherever you go.
You do. You do. It's a phenomenal place to live.
It is. I agree. So, I have a few more questions for you. One is, where can people find you online, social media, or website, or things like that? The best way to reach me is to call me, as odd as that sounds. The best number to reach me is 312-927-8278. That number once again, 312-927-8278.
Have
you been in radio before?
I have, and that was my radio moment here.
That's right.
Operators are standing by. And that's really because I want to talk, and I invite you to come in. If what I'm saying resonates with you, either you haven't done planning that is sufficient, or you're with somebody that you feel like I'm describing as being one of those other people, give me a shout. We can sit down, talk about your objectives, look at what you have, and I am not afraid to say, oh no, I'm looking at this and I like what this guy is doing, or I like this particular program. Stay the course. We're good. I mean, that's not the business I'm in, but at the same time, I'm not in the business of upsetting apple carts if they don't need to be upset.
That's true. It's about relationships. And who is your ideal client to talk to?
I have a warm spot in my heart for the young'uns who are just starting out, even though they don't have a ton of assets. And then folks who have saved and are, I'd say, 5 to 7 years from considering retirement. That's also a sweet spot. The other part of it is, if you're going to jump to the need, if you have a rollover or if you are considering life insurance, those are people who will benefit from speaking with me, because the way I look at things is a little bit different than the way other people look at things, and you might be surprised. I look at everything as a strategy. So even though, and because I'm a financial planner, because I have the ability to offer anything under the sun from a product standpoint, if it's appropriate, and not just one company, but just a whole host of companies, then that conversation, my ideal person is somebody who feels that they're underserved. They've been diligent about saving, they have a need, and they want to talk to somebody who's not going to know what they're going to recommend before the person actually walks in the door.
Yeah, that's key.
It is. It's huge.
And it can be stressful to talk to somebody about these types of things, but you calm it down. And I think that's important.
I'm glad. I may seem like a really smart intellectual guy on this podcast, but believe me, I'm way overselling that aspect.
We could have a beer with you.
Yeah, you could. Maybe even while we're talking.
Okay, that sounds good. And my final question is, if you could go back to yourself at age 25, what would you tell yourself?
Wow. I think I would tell myself that, well, actually, it's something that I tell my kids. Any situation that is a sudden and dire situation, just wait a day, wait 2 days, and it'll all work out. That would be the main thing. The other thing would be, you're going to look okay bald. That would be the other thing that I would tell myself at age, what age?
25.
25, yeah. I think I would have needed to hear that around right then.
Okay. That's a great answer. Hopefully I never have to tell myself that.
No, I'd say probably not.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. It was a real pleasure to have you, and I think we really learned a lot. So everyone, please subscribe, and thanks for listening. I'd like to thank several people for help with today's show. This includes Jeff Schankerman from One-to-One Financial for being a guest on the show. You can reach him at 312-927-8278. I'd like to thank my real estate brokerage, Dreamtown Realty in Evanston, for helping me with the graphics for the show. I also like to thank Industrious in Evanston for using their space to record this podcast. Follow them on Instagram at Industrious Evanston. And if listening to this podcast gave you the bug to buy or sell real estate, give me a call or go to my real estate website at aaronmasliansky.com. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.